Live from Austin, Texas, this is Diversity Cafe, hosted by me, Angela Hood, CEO and founder of This Way Global. Our podcast features HR tech and recruiting experts that know our industry inside and out. They are the best of the best. Join us and enjoy a cup of your favorite brew and get the insight you need to meet recruiting and diversity challenges head on. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm Angela Hood. I'm the founder and CEO of This Way Global, and this is Diversity Cafe. Joining me today is Dr. Keith Dunbar. He is a friend of the company. We've been working with Keith for a number of years and has probably greater intelligence about certain aspects of the business than anyone else that I know. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Angela. Pleasure to be here with you today.
So I want to just dive right in. I give a lot of talks. I used to give talks in person. I don't know if you remember that thing where you would actually go to a conference room or a big hall room.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Right. Long time ago, we used to do that. Now I give talks virtually. But a lot of them I start with the fact that white men are also diverse. And because our company specializes in removing bias and increasing diversity in teams, that is our specialty. And I feel like it's an obligation to share that. So I always ask people when they join us, Keith, are you diverse?
Absolutely, I'm diverse. You could look at my 23andMe report and tell that.
Okay, great. So tell me a little bit about your background and what makes you diverse in the workforce.
Yeah, so I'm a small town guy, grew up in South Carolina, joined the Navy at a fairly early age, right out of high school, and decided that, I wanted to go places and learn things. And so I became a machinist mate, nuclear trained on submarines, did that for a little bit, found that it wasn't super challenging to read temperature and pressure gauges once an hour, every hour, and, wanted something different. And so, that led me down this path of getting an education and getting commissioned within the U.S. Navy and becoming a naval intelligence officer. And there you have to really have diversity of thought, right? Because you're looking at all these hard intelligence problems from, all of these different locations in the world and trying to figure out what these threat actors are trying to do or not to do, so you can make sure you're making the right recommendations.
So you have you're a veteran and you have how many years of service?
21 when I retired from the U.S. Navy, then another 5 as a government civilian.
All right, awesome. Well, that explains why it is that you are so well versed in so many of the aspects of the business that we come to you and your organization for. Right. The thing that people might not know about is FedLearn, which I think is incredibly cool. And the reason why I think it's incredibly cool is part of my background I don't talk about often is that I was in the defense contracting space for a number of years. And learning how to work within the federal government, the paperwork of the federal government, the processes, the things that you can and cannot do, totally different from normal business. Yeah. So explain how FedLearn would help someone like me when they're trying to figure all of these things out.
Yeah, so FedLearn is an idea that I had back in 2017, kind of looked at the learning ecosystem within the federal government and the government contractor space, and really found that it was very chaotic and challenging. So for an example, there are over 700 learning management systems within the federal government alone. All of them probably have great content, but they're not connected to one another. If you are a learner like yourself, Angela, you have to try to figure out, where do I go to get what I need? And so we felt like there was an opportunity to create FedLearn, which is an online learning content provider company providing contextualized, specialized content specific to the federal government and the government contractor market. And from that perspective, we want to aggregate great content. So while we're building content, we do content partnerships with individuals and organizations to get their content there. So for a case like you, Angela, you only have to come to one place to find what it is that you're looking for. And it's there at the right time and at the right place for you, so you can get that learning that you need in order to be successful in whatever your task or mission is.
Yeah, because you're a doctor, you phrase this very nicely. I describe to other people it's like a bat phone for federal contractors. That's all. I'm like, let's just break it down, because there are so many times where there's a piece of information that you might go on and you might search for it online, and you get, I don't know, 10 or 12 different versions of whatever the answer is.
Yeah.
And part of this that's so scary is if you do the wrong thing, you can lose a contract, you can get fines. I mean, these are not small infractions.
Yeah.
That if you get the wrong advice, and that's the one thing I really like about FedLearn, is that it's coming from a trusted source with so much experience backing it, and that you're also vetting the information before it ever gets out to public.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of the focus of our courses. So because of the intelligence community background, we started building an intelligence community course catalog of unclassified courses, because there's so much content out there related specifically to what an analyst does in their day-to-day job that is kind of foundational, right? That you can build unclassified courses around. Additionally, we've started building artificial intelligence, data science courses that are aligned specifically to the Department of Defense's AI education strategy. So we can help with data literacy and helping make the DoD AI capable within 2025 or whatever their new timeline is for that. But it's really an important piece to the puzzle, because historically, organizations and individuals, again, just haven't had that one place to go to get that information that they need. And so that's one of the reasons why we will be launching our new AI-powered online learning platform in the May timeframe, which has a lot of great unique capabilities for individual learners as well as for organizations.
And so obviously, as an AI company ourselves, I love what the ability for technology to really help people do something more effectively.
Yep.
And do the things that really are not, I would say, human-centric. We don't like to process massive amounts of data, and we don't like to search for things endlessly.
Right.
We do like to do other things, and I think that that's the great thing about artificial intelligence is when used correctly, it enables us to be able to do more and have a better work-life balance. So if I'm a government contractor or federal contractor, what is it that I can expect for the AI to help me be able to do, let's say Q2 and Q3?
Yeah, so it has some really unique capabilities that we're bringing to the market. So one that we get asked a lot by prospective clients and current clients is, how do we know that our people are learning if we're going to make this investment in your content, right, and your platform capabilities? And to date, no one's been able to answer that question without doing a level 3 assessment of learning impact or return on investment. Now, with our AI-powered platform, as the learner is going through the content, we can determine, based on how they are engaging with the content, what learning strategy they are using. And there are specific learning strategies that the AI has identified that either tell us that they are learning the content or they are not learning the content. And that allows us to a 90% plus confidence level be able to guarantee that we can tell you whether they're learning or not learning the content that we've provided to them.
Fascinating. Okay, so what happens when you find out that we have learned that in the Pareto principle, generally 20% do one thing, 80% are doing the other.
Yeah.
Let's assume that 80% are learning and 20% are not. What happens next?
Well, so another capability in the platform is that it's adaptive learning. So the AI will adapt content based on the knowledge skills of the person as they are going through the content. So for a person where maybe it's not challenging, it will make that content more challenging and pull out additional things from the content that that person needs. For a person that's not necessarily learning the content, that presents an opportunity for the organization to really coach and mentor that individual, right? To help them gain that knowledge or skill that they require for their current job. So that's kind of how we see this playing out as we get ready to move to the new platform.
I think it sounds incredible. I mean, I actually think it should be used for many more things other than FedLearn, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Another key piece is that we've been uploading tons of content that's publicly available from the federal government, primarily Congressional Research Service reports, Department of Defense joint pubs, War College, videos, books, everything we can get our hands on from both the Department of Defense and the intelligence community. In uploading that to the platform, because the other really cool capability of the AI is that an individual will be able to go into the platform, type in some keywords, the AI will reach into the content repository and will build a course for them specific to their needs. And that's something that hasn't been made available within DoD or the Intel community specific. And so we're really excited about that. That's why we continue to talk to organizations about getting their content on the platform, because as you know, Angela, there's tons of content out there that's just sitting there, waiting for someone to search and find it. Well, what if we brought it in one place where you could turn it into learning instead of just, sitting there and doing nothing? So
yeah, absolutely incredible. I mean, so the way that you and I actually ever became acquainted with one another was because I have an AI company, and you were looking to identify very special people. And I would say that, I don't know, maybe 80% of our US customers have special people that they find through us. There's about 20% that have what I would say like more normal run-of-the-mill entry-level positions. But so many of them have at least a portion of their and their employee base is a very unique person. Some of them are the most unique, which I categorize as the people that have top secret security clearance. They've submitted to polygraph tests that they've passed. They have been employed in the things that are most important to our nation, and they are needles in a haystack. They are very hard to find, but beyond hard to find, I would love for you to explain your view of what happens to these individuals when they're building their resume.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So what typically happens is that the culture and behaviors of individuals within the intelligence community have been conditioned not to share that they have a clearance of any kind, right? And so it makes it, doubly hard to try to find these people, because you don't know if they have a clearance, because most government contractors want you to have a clearance at the time of hire. They don't want to spend the time that could, be a year or more or longer in order for you to get a clearance and get on this job, because that means lost revenue to them, right? So they want to find talent as quickly as possible that has the right level of clearances, has a polygraph if necessary, so they can bring them on board as quickly as possible and start generating that revenue that they need from these contracts.
Yeah, I think the part that we see often is we will have a government contractor or a defense contractor, and I want to be clear to anyone that's listening to this: they're not necessarily the same thing. There are obviously defense contractors are also government contractors, but there's plenty of people, plenty of companies that are government contractors that do not operate in the defense space. So that's one clarification. Another one is that not everyone needs the same clearance. You just mentioned they want type of clearance, the very specific nature of clearance that they're looking for. So can you give the, I'll say the elementary view of the different types of clearances that we're talking about?
Yeah, so the one that is in most need typically is top secret clearances, right? And usually with organizations within the intelligence or government contractors working in the intelligence community or parts of DoD, they're really looking for top secret clearances and now usually some polygraph that they have taken, whether that is a lifestyle polygraph or a counterintelligence polygraph, or CI poly is what it's called. So that's one level, but there's also requirements for individuals that have secret clearances, right, or confidential clearances that have access to certain aspects of work within an organization, but is not necessarily within that special compartmented facility or SCIF where a lot of the top secret work occurs, right? So.
And can you mention what public trust means when you see that on a job description?
Yeah, so public trust actually has to deal with information, public PII data, right? So you need to have a public trust clearance to have access to data that is not necessarily classified in any form, but is still of importance to the organization. And so in some cases, jobs require that as well.
So how do you, if you were just talking at a cafe, right? And someone came up and you're having coffee and they said, okay, I saw this job description that I really love and I'd like to apply for it, putting together my resume. How do you recommend them deal with the conflict? Because I do think it's a professional conflict. It's like, I've been told not to share that I did X job in Y location.
Yeah.
And certainly not to disclose that it was top secret. So what is a way for a person to be able to handle that better?
Yeah, so I mean, at least on their resume, they can definitely state that they have a security clearance, right? They don't necessarily have to state what type of security clearance they have or polygraph, but that at least flags for an AI capable platform like yourselves, Angela, this way, that this person has a security clearance, and depending on what their knowledge, skill, expertise makeup is, it may be someone that an organization's talent source or talent recruiter may want to engage with. For those that are definitely seeking, those opportunities to get out to the private sector as quickly as possible, then you may want to take that chance and break that mold of actually putting that you have a top secret clearance or a secret or a confidential or public trust, right? So the recruiter or the organization can find you much easier than they can today.
Yeah, I think that the real challenge that we hear from the individuals is that they have been trained, like you said, for probably their entire career, which is why they're in the position that they're in, that discretion wins. And so they tend to always be discreet. And now you're asking them to put on a piece of paper all of this information. One of the things that we share, and I think it's one of the reasons why our two companies started working together, is we conceal the name, we conceal some email, phone number, we conceal a lot of the information initially when the initial screening is happening. We are also vetting the companies we work with. And I know that you've been on the other side of this. When you bring a customer to us, there's a vetting process that we go through to make sure that they are who they say they are. It's typically very easy because you deal with probably 50 of the best defense contractors in the world. So, but we have defense contractors and government contractors that come from other resources. And we're very careful about that. And I think that it's partially because we do understand it. About half of our company has held security clearance, many top secret security. And likewise, we don't talk about it publicly. And so I think that we understand that kind of, I don't know, I think it's a frustration level a little bit on both the recruiter and hiring manager side, because they want you to be able to disclose and say very specifically, I have an active top secret clearance doing this. But as a professional, I think that you would say it makes sense for them to kind of hold back a little bit until they know more.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about risk, right? What is your level of risk with communicating this to outside organizations and individuals? I mean, if you're gravely concerned that you are going to become some type of target for external international security organizations to target you, then obviously you don't want to share that, based on what your background has been working within the federal government. So you just need to weigh those risks, just saying, okay, I have a security clearance and not sharing the details of what that is and waiting for those conversations to happen in one-on-one or group settings, right, as you're going through the interview process for that role.
Yeah, one of the ways I explain it is military pilots all have clearance. And so just because they don't say, I have X clearance, we all know that they held a clearance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the power of your solution, right? Is that we don't necessarily have to know right now that they actually have a clearance, because your AI can determine that by looking at where they've worked before, what their roles have been, and understanding that typically people that have been in these kinds of roles and these kinds of organizations have some kind of security clearance associated with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because of the things that you and I have talked about, and I think other people in the defense industry talk about often, and we have stepped up our own level of compliance as a company. I think, last week you may have seen that we announced a partnership with IBM, and the partnership was around us leveraging technology that backs up some of the largest banks in the world, international air traffic control systems.
Yeah.
The reason why we picked this system to pair with is because of the work that we do with you and companies that you are that are clients of yours.
Yeah.
Partially because we know that the attacks on systems are increasing and they're becoming more robust by the day.
Yes.
There's world events that are causing that to happen, but this has been on the increase well before the current events. And the one thing that I have seen that has made the biggest impact when we're having conversations with customers is that they appreciate the fact that you and I are working together as companies. We're working with IBM, and all of this is about to bring the highest level of security for data and to protect the individuals that we're talking about right now, so that when they come through our system, they don't have to worry about information being leaked out. They don't have to worry about someone knowing that they're looking for a job when they don't want that to be known, because none of this is public. We're not a social media platform, and we protect people's interest and their privacy.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's vitally important. Consider the huge OPM data breach, right? Where, it's assessed that China breached the OPM system and got all this information on federal government employees that included their clearance levels and everything. So, I mean, people are supremely sensitive to this information being out there anywhere. And so, taking those steps as an organization like you're doing with This Way, Angela, partnering with IBM is crucial to helping to build that trust within, these markets that we're working in, right, with this solution.
Well, you can't do it all by yourself, I always talk about that the some of the parts, it truly is so much greater. I think that we're very, very fortunate to be working with your organization, and for you to be able to feed I would say it's not just the companies, but the people at the companies, and let them grow professionally. Because I think sometimes people forget this. When a company provides you as an individual with learning, they are helping you build a greater skill set, and they are helping you become more valuable in the market.
Yes, absolutely.
And so the way you're doing it, I love, because having been the person, I don't even want to, discuss how old I am, but there were times where you would go to huge bookshelves of documents that were 500, 600, 700 pages thick.
Yeah.
And you were supposed to try to find the one code for something that you needed to request on a payment,
Yeah.
I just remember thinking there's got to be a better way. Now, we didn't have the technology that we have today, so you couldn't complain too much. But the fact that you're leveraging AI in this way is very, very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, we met in like 2017, I think. Around that same time, we were looking at AI for learning and seeing that the landscape was starting to change just within the talent management space, right? And that AI was going to be a big player in talent management, to include talent acquisition and employee engagement and all of these different areas. And so, finding a partner like This Way to work with and bring these great AI solutions to bear within markets that haven't really thought about AI. I mean, the federal government is slow to change, and that's being generous by just using those words.
Right.
In fact, we saw a request for proposal come out where the organization specifically said they didn't want any AI solutions presented. So that gives you a sense of what it's like within the FedGov and the GovCon environment. So, but you just got to keep working it and sharing with them the great solutions and what it brings to the table for them to save time, be more efficient, more effective in the whole talent acquisition process.
Yeah, what we have learned, and this has been very recent months, is that there's a misunderstanding of kind of what AI is. And the way I explain it is it's really closer to IA, which is intelligent automation. It's really taking automation and leveraging it for people. There's a lot of things that we do are like mundane tasks, or we just need to be able to like filter through a whole bunch of data really fast.
Yeah.
And we needed to get insights. Now, it doesn't mean that the machine that's doing that's going to take action on those insights. That's our job, is the human. But I want the data points, and I want the speed that it gives me, and I want the accuracy that it gives me. I don't want there's a lot of human error that happens when we look at data. We look at data awfully with a very biased viewpoint.
Yeah.
We think we know what the data is going to tell us, so that's what we're looking for. And I think our combined companies, when we work with the companies we work with, they see incredible benefit from finding talent that they've never seen before, or finding talent that they didn't understand was qualified for the job.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole key, right? I mean, the sources that government contractors use when looking for cleared talent, is clearedjobs.com and LinkedIn and some of these normal places where they expect to find cleared talent. But, as your solution has told us, working with you, is that there's a whole nother level of cleared talent out there in the millions that people just aren't aware of. And so being able to tap into that with this AI solution to surface up these people from different sources that they likely would never have had access to is critically important to the whole, finding the right talent and putting them in the right place at the right time. So,
yeah, I think it was because we understood them. People asked me, they're like, how were you able to get these people to come into the system and to share? And I really do think it was because we understood. We had all been in the place. Most of the people in our company have actually suffered from this, where you're like, what do I tell about that job? Because can't completely share what it was that I was doing because it's not documented anywhere, and I don't want to disclose my clearance. And when we explained to people that it would not be revealed until it was with a credible contractor that had a real job and they were recruiting for it. This is, there's no advertising opportunity that's happening here. it changed people's thoughts, but more importantly, it changed their access to jobs that they really wanted, which is, to me, where the big deal is.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, as we've talked about on a number of times as we engage with prospective clients, is, just the whole change management piece. You mentioned it earlier. It's not maybe artificial intelligence, but intelligence automation, right? And helping talent recruiters and talent sourcers at these organizations understand that it's not going to take their job, right? This AI is not going to come in and all of a sudden the company is going to get rid of all its talent sourcers, because you still need someone, like you said, to go through that data and make decisions about, okay, so it looks like these, top 5 candidates that were scored by this way for this job profile looks like they have, what it is we're looking for. Let's contact them and get some more details, right? And figure out if we want to bring them in for an interview. So it's not intended to get rid of who they are or what they do for the organization, but like you said, make it more efficient for them so they can get through lots more of these roles that they're trying to hire for.
Well, I think of it as a force multiplier. I know it's a military term, but that's how I always think about it, in the fact that we use Google Maps when we're trying to go somewhere. We don't break out the paper and try to find Q1. That's the block I need to go to, and where am I right now? I mean, who wants to do that? So we have Waze, we have Google, we have all kinds of different ways that we can get places. Yet somehow we still think that we should have to manually filter through and try to find people that have the right qualifications. And I don't know why the block happens, but I think that because of the volume of companies that we work with together, I think they're starting to see, okay, I can use this for not just my clearance jobs. I can use this for all my other jobs too. But it is a way for them to really start, because that's where their real pain is right now.
Well, again, we have some clients that are losing thousands and thousands of dollars because they can't find talent to put on contract. And those kinds of situations, they're a little more risk averse, right? So they're willing to try new things to try to get their hands on that talent and bring that to bear on whatever these contracts are. But, in a lot of cases, we do find prospective clients that, believe they can do it by themselves, just with their current processes. And, based on our experience, with you and your solution, Angela, we know that's not the case.
Right.
So.
Like you said, it's change management. People have to, sometimes the pain has to be more intense before people are willing to adopt something. And I think it maybe is the same way with FedLearn. If you have not tried to find all of the information that you need in a manual way, if you've never gone through that, and you've never gone through searching for stuff online, and there's 4 different conflicting pieces of information and you don't know which one to believe, if you have not gone through that experience, you don't have the pain yet. And so you can't appreciate the relief of the pain.
No, I think that's totally accurate, right? I mean, I've been a proponent recently of, being sure when we talk to prospective clients about doing pilots with your solution, about, understanding what does success look like for them and how are they going to measure that, so we can, be sure that we are providing the right evidence, right, or data to support how this is really saving them time, energy, getting people quicker, whatever those metrics look like.
Well, the flip side of that is when the candidates reach out and they're like, I am so ecstatic that X company reached out to me because I've wanted to work for them for 2 decades. I just haven't ever known how to present myself to them. And a lot of times it is because they're diverse. It's because They went to a university that may be an HBCU, and the recruiters didn't necessarily recognize the name of the university as a place where clearance individuals came from. You know, so they're in their head, they're like, well, this person probably doesn't have clearance. But when we score them and they're third on the list and it's a clearance job, then all of a sudden the recruiter is like, okay, maybe I do need to take a second look at them. And they come to find out the person just hasn't shared their clearance in the resume. And so that's one of the things that we clear up for them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, most government contractors tend to focus on specific universities or colleges because they have a concentration in some degree area that they really want to get right. And well, what that does is that biases all these other organizations out there and universities that have really qualified people that can help them immediately. So, yeah, I mean, again, that's the great thing about your platform and, why we wanted to partner with you for sure.
Well, it has been great talking to you, and I love the fact that you were able to share about FedLearn. I think it's something that I really wish I had 20 years ago. The amount of time it would have saved me, I would have been better at my job too. But maybe I wouldn't have ended up here if I'd had FedLearn.
Yeah, exactly. Everything happens for a reason, right?
That's right. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us. I love having you on here. I hope you will join us again. We'd love to get an update because it sounds like that Q2 and Q3, you have some exciting things underway.
Yeah.
And Q4 should be very exciting for us both.
Yeah, exactly right. So thanks for your time, Angela. Really happy to join you today.
Thanks for listening to Diversity Cafe. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to see the growth of fair recruiting, please share it with others, post it on social media, and leave a nice review. To stay caught up on all the latest, follow This Way Global on Facebook, LinkedIn, or at thiswayglobal.com.